Happy Pride to the girls, gays, and theys. Welcome, everybody, to the Transatlantic Call-In Show. This is the place where you get to call in and talk to two trans people about all your questions, anything and everything trans-related. I am your host today, Arden Hart, and with me, co-hosting, we've got Josie Caballero. Josie, how you doing?
I am doing well, and it is Pride.
So
It is
happy.
Pride, and I am so busy, so happy, but so busy. Like, I looked at my month calendar, and it's exciting and really cool, and an agenda I think I've always wanted to have, but it's a lot back to back to back to back.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. You can fill people in if you want. I know we also have the sort of fundraising event you wanted to touch on, so we can maybe get into that a little bit before the poll, and or if you want to do it later, that's okay too.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine just discussing what we're planning.
Yeah.
We are going. So, as you know, my day job, I've been working for the National Center for Transgender Equality, and there's another organization called TILDEF, which is a Transgender Legal Defense Education Fund, which are two really important organizations, but we have merged. And the wedding is finally here, and we are now going to be the advocates for trans equality, or A4TE. So when you start seeing advocates for trans equality, that's us. That's the organization. We are doubling in size, and we're going to be the largest policy, organizing, legal, political, trans-led organization in the entire country. Like, it is so wild how much we're going to be doing. So we're going to be holding a fundraiser, hopefully to the line here, maybe on the show, that is going to help us get us that extra bit of money for the merger, because, you know, mergers are expensive. Like, they're incredibly expensive. You would think, oh, it's just a name change. You're bringing two organizations. There's so much that goes into it. I can't even tell you how much. It's so much. So we're trying to do an initial fundraiser to show the country that we have trans power, that we're trying to raise money, and we're going to do this here in Pride. And we're going to try to do this on the community side, trying to raise money through streams or shows like this. Like, it's going to be a really exciting time. So stay tuned. We will be able to tell you more as time comes, and hopefully you'll see it to a streaming event near you at some point as well. So it's exciting stuff. And then I could just say with my agenda really quick, if you want to know how wild it is. I won't tell you any of the dates. So I'm going to be at the vice president's home. I'm going to the White House. I'm going to the Equality Pack Gala. I'm doing the A4TE Inauguration Gala. I'm going to New York for the DNC Pride Gala. And then I have a lobby day event. And I'm traveling to Baltimore for a few days as well. So that's just a few things on my agenda that I am going to do. But I think it's really cool that I'm going to be able to go to the VP's house. That's exciting.
Yeah, super cool.
Never been there. I've never been there. All right, let's go.
Right, what a cool event.
It is.
No, that's
be really
awesome.
cool.
And definitely we're excited for. We haven't worked out any of the details and like the extent of our involvement or anything yet. We haven't ironed out the fine lines.
Right, the details.
Mostly because I got a lot on my plate, and I know Jimmy's got a lot on his plate right now. So we are gonna get to it, but hopefully you guys are excited about that. Definitely a good organization that we should all be interested in and invested in. So why don't we get into those polls, and then we can jump into calls.
Yeah.
You ready? All right.
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's hit those polls.
So last week's poll was our sort of addendum to the week before. Do you trust Trump on trans issues? 94% said no, and 6% said yes. So while we were kind of shocked, maybe a little bothered by the results of the Biden poll, I want to read you those results again. Do you trust Biden on trans issues was 44% yes, 56% no. So while maybe not as good as I would hope, clearly blows Trump way out of the water. Pretty much the only comments I saw that were on the 6% yes side of this vote were people basically being like, well, I trust that he's going to put the mentally ill people where they belong, or something to that effect, you know? So,
yeah,
like,
of course.
You're going to get those far-right trolls. The polls tend to have a wider algorithmic reach, for some reason. So I think that's kind of where a lot of that's coming from. Most of the comments that I read on this were saying basically, I don't trust Trump on literally anything ever,
Yeah.
which is relatable. Totally understand. But this definitely, especially following, last week's episode was on the day of Trump's conviction. And there's been a lot of mixed feelings, I think, coming out of that. People are nervous about how it's going to be affecting things. And I don't want to get people too comfortable. Voting is still very important. This isn't a guaranteed win by any stretch of the imagination. But the polls that I've seen following up from this event have me hopeful for this election. I'll say that. But I was hopeful before Trump got elected in 2016, and I was severely let down. So I still think voting is extremely important. And we have to be vigilant here. But Aron, Josie, thoughts?
Obvious. I think we know because we have a record of what Trump did to trans folks as far as the discrimination policies of letting people and giving rules, putting out rules on how to discriminate people and getting urban housing and housing accessibility, banning trans people from the military, actively going after trans folks in a variety of different ways via healthcare, trying to say that you can be discriminated against if you are trans, and so on and so forth. And then we see what he will do in the future, bringing back that military ban, banning transition-related healthcare across the board, giving doctors prison time for providing gender-affirming care to trans people. So there is such a different world that happens if versus Trump and Biden. And it's just that it's good to have a sober reality check to figure out what's at stake.
Yeah.
When these two different elections are. So I'm glad that the community definitely understands whole cloth almost that, a Trump presidency will not be good for trans people overall.
Yeah, absolutely. No need to linger on that. I think we've covered all the important stuff. And this week's poll is going to be just kind of lighthearted. Are you attending a Pride celebration this month? Because, I kind of do this rant, this little soapbox every year on Pride Month. But I think, as we see the increase, every year we're one-upping ourselves on the number of anti-trans bills and anti-LGBT bills that are being proposed in a number of different state legislatures. It's dark out there, and I know people are struggling. There are some states right now where trans kids aren't able to access their health care, and there are states out there where kids aren't, feeling safe in in bathrooms at schools and things like that. It's trans people are definitely so highly persecuted that I think it's really important right now to really attend these sorts of events and be reminded that we do have a very vibrant living community right there, probably in your city, in your state. Even in the harsh ones, those communities still exist. And I think it's really good for y'all to get out there and be a part of that this month while we're celebrating Pride. Obviously, if they have organizations doing events outside of Pride Month, do that too. I'm just saying, this is the holiday, this is where you should feel emboldened and trusted to go to these sorts of events. I hope you guys do consider attending some events this month and celebrating Pride with everyone. Josie, I know we already talked about you're going to some events, but tell us more about it.
I'm going to 3 different prides.
Hell yeah!
I already went to Annapolis, going to DC, and I'm going to be in New York. So it's I think it's incredibly important to celebrate and be visible, because we have to remember that we were given this ability to be visible and have pride from the people who put their lives on the line in a riot and a protest. And so I feel that as queer people part of the LGBTQ community, it's incredibly important to be able to show yourself, be visible, and show the world that it's great and it's fine and it's perfect, and celebrate yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of makes me think back to a little story time. My first Pride I ever went to, was, I'm going to get the year wrong. It was probably like a year or two before I came out. I had a boyfriend at the time. It was my first like kind of foray into, being openly queer. And we went to New York Pride. And when we got there, we were staying at a friend of his place down in Brooklyn, and everyone got ready that morning. And I chickened out. I didn't go to the parade because I was still so full of like shame and self-loathing that I was like afraid to go, really. Later that night, luckily I had some amazing friends there who were like, I didn't even want to put lip gloss on. Like, I was genuinely terrified of like expressing myself as openly queer just because my experience had been so hostile with it. And it was really cute, this cute moment. We were all waiting on the subway to go downtown, and all of the like men in the group at the time grabbed the lip gloss container. We probably shouldn't have been sharing the same lip gloss, but it's fine. They all put it on, and then they handed it to me to be like, look, we're not even the ones who are experiencing like any gender anxiety. You are, and we're gonna do it with you just to show you that like this is the place, like this is the time and the place to be able to like express yourself. It was like a really healing moment for me. And ever since then, Pride has been like just like a really special place to me. I've told you guys I don't really celebrate holidays that deeply, but Pride is one that does really mean a lot to me. So I think it's really important, and it can be a really good experience for you guys if you open yourself up to it and really trust that it is genuinely a safe place to be yourself. But yeah, I think it's such a good thing to do.
Sharing the same tube of lip gloss has to be the gayest thing that I've heard in a long time.
It is pretty bad.
I love it. No, I do. We're doing first Pride stories. My first Pride was back in 2014. I was still presenting cis and het, and I was wearing this pink shirt. And somebody handed me a trans flag, and I was like so unaware of anything. And I was like, I put it on my belt, and I was walking with the Dems for Equality back in San Diego. And I have this photo of me holding this sign for the Dems for Equality with me in this pink shirt and this trans flag on my belt. And it was so interesting that was back in 2014. I didn't come out as trans until 2020. So I don't know, that trans flag found its way to me before I even knew that I was a part of the community. And it was so sweet. And I love that photo. It's so great, even though it's like way pre-transition. It's still really interesting of like how the shadow of my transness was still there, found its way to me. And that was my first Pride. And I really think that's so cool.
It is really cool. Yeah, Pride is, it's just, especially I think in this community, so many of us grew up with like a lot of religious trauma and a lot of like a message, we were really baked in those shameful messages about our identity. So it's like, it's special to be able to have the one place where like, even if the rest of it is bad, this is the place that is safe and special and to celebrate you. I know there's some people who are stressed about celebrating at all because we are witnessing some stuff going on in the world that is pretty dark. But I urge you to, the holidays are important, to take the one time to say, like, in spite of everything else going on in the world, it's really important to celebrate our shared humanity right now. And so I definitely encourage you to do that. But we have some callers. So there are open lines as well, 720-619-2288. If you would like to call in, please do give us a call. There's also a web link in the description if you are from out of the US, although we are having some problems with some people connecting right now, I see. So definitely be patient with our call screener as we try to figure out what's going on there. But first, we're going to talk to William. Pronouns are they, them, in Arkansas. William, you are live on the line. Talk to us. What's going on?
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Doing good. Hey. How are you?
I am feeling extra sassy for Pride Month. I am a sassy Katy. I'm a sassy Katy for Pride Month this month.
Love that for you.
Anywho, I wanted to call in because last week I put it in the super chat. You told me to call in, Arden, about trans women having period symptoms and stuff like that, because I experience period symptoms. They have synced up with my cisgendered roommate, where it's about I get in mine about a week before she does, and it's horrible, and I hate it. And I just at the time, there's the whole Trump thing, so you were obviously like had other way more important things to think about.
Sure.
So, just wondering what y'all know on that and stuff. If y'all experience them, if y'all know any studies on that, give me some info.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, Josie, you've mentioned you have some similar experiences, so
I do.
I would like to hear about that, and then I'll share my thoughts after that. I'm gonna maybe do some like napkin notes here on the side, maybe some like research, because I have thoughts, but I want you to hear what you have to say.
For sure. So first, I would like to say that, PMS symptoms, they're idiosyncratic, right? Hormones affect everybody differently. Like in puberty, there are many cis women that have symptoms that are debilitating, like rolled over on the ground, can't do anything during that time, and actually have to take like some form of birth control or some type of medication to alleviate that stress and pressure. And then there's other cis women who are like period symptoms. What's that, right? And so we have to look at it on like the spectrum of differences on how hormones affect human bodies in different ways. I know that in our cycle, like it's a cycle, right? You have high levels of estrogen, and then it cycles down, and then it cycles back up, and it cycles down, and it happens to people who take estrogen as well. I personally also have synced up with my my partner. She's a cis woman, and I do get a little moody. I lose my appetite. I have a little indigestion. And it is something that I realize. I'm like, oh, why am I getting a headache? Or, why am I like have a little bit of brain fog today? And then I'm like, oh, it's the first of the month. That's what it is. And it always happens, and it sinks, and it's like a clock. And maybe it's because I have a very specific cycle of hormones, and that's how it goes. But but I've also see the same type of thing with trans women as well that are on estrogen, and some people have very heavy symptoms that are very, very noticeable, and a lot of people don't have any at all. And so again, it's really hard. Yeah, I know, right? I think it's really hard to like do the type of studies, is because a lot of this is anecdotal, just like most of the time is anecdotal. So that's how I look at it. And I think the people who get angry about, oh my God, trans women can't have PMS, whatever, it's like people don't understand that periods are more than just menstruation blood. There's like an entire like physiology to it. And I think people just think that, because they always try to take the most absurd point of view. It's like, oh, this trans woman said she gets period symptoms, she must be bleeding, and it's like, therefore, it's like they're delusional, and they just try to create a delusion rather than people experiencing, I get moody once a month, okay. Right, and that's all they're saying, right? And people blow that out of proportion and try to make the whole community look unhinged, and don't know the reality of like not having being born with a vulva with a uterus that produces, a uterus that produces periods and things. So it's just outrageous. But anyways, go on.
Okay, so I have thoughts, and I feel like I'm gonna be the bad guy here, but that's okay.
You're okay.
And it's not me trying to be like I completely agree that there are everyone, male, female, trans, cis, we all go through cycles of hormones, and that's going to affect things like mood, bloating, energy levels, like that. That is just normal human physiology, whether you're trans or not, whether you're male or female, cis or trans, or anywhere in between. Now, I haven't done extensive research, but my understanding is that the evidence for syncing of cycles is actually incredibly limited, or the evidence is very, very scant. It changes like the frequency or when things begin or any rates like that. There's actually like little to no evidence for that I could find. However, I do agree with what Josie's saying, that I think a lot of this is anecdotal, and I don't think that this is something that people are going to probably like go to their doctor for or anything. So it's going to be hard to collect data on it. But I would really love to see an actual like well-constructed study that could examine this. And I also want to say that there is a complete difference between the shedding of the uterine lining, bleeding, and premenstrual symptoms and premenstrual, like all of the other symptoms that come before actual menstruation. And I know there are good arguments about the cramping that goes on is typically occurs within like your abdominal muscles, and whether you have a uterus or not, you have abdominal muscles. And so there's some reason to believe that cramping could happen. I guess I think period carries a very specific connotation to most people in America, and I personally don't experience, well, I should say, I experience fluctuations in my mood and my weight and all of those things regularly. But I just don't think of them that way. I guess I think I struggle to like, this is kind of reminds me of, we had a discussion when Nominal Naomi was on whether or not having like a different model of viewing disability might be the best one, and one that ought to include like queer identities, because queer people are oppressed, and so we deserve some sort of accommodations because it impacts our life and things like this. And for me, that was like, I can agree with parts of that, but it's the labeling of it just feels to me like almost like a rhetorical mistake, like we're basically asking for problems, but also I don't think that we should necessarily censor ourselves for like cis sensibilities or anything like that. I guess I feel like it feels like a million or like 5 different, sorry, one sec, I'm almost done, William, and then I'll let you talk.
It's okay.
It feels like 5 or 6 different things are happening, and like we're kind of conflating them all because they're so similar. And it may be the case that there's no real meaningful distinction, and we should just let people call it that because it doesn't really matter. And if it describes their experience sufficiently and like the treatments are the same, then who really cares what the like actual source of it is? But yeah, I guess I just feel very conflicted about referring to this as a period for a lot of the reasons that I articulated. But I'd like to hear what you have to say, William.
Well, to be fair, that is the reason I specifically said period symptoms, and trying to, because that actually, I understand the whole connotation essentially associated with the term, but the symptoms themselves can, I have a monthly set of these symptoms that occur regularly every month, so it that's why I use that term specifically. Does that make sense?
Also,
and I'm wondering if...
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to ask if you don't mind disclosing what method of hormones you use and what like frequency you're taking them at, because
I actually don't use hormones, but I have I have my endocrinologist at the time test this, and it turns out I have about twice as much estrogen as someone of my age and who's assigned male at birth should have, and about 1/3 the testosterone. Which
that's interesting.
I started looking into it. Yeah, very. I actually started looking into it, and I do tick a few of the boxes potentially be intersex, so I'm wondering if that's a possibility for me personally. And if that could have something to do with it, or if it, insert all this other stuff here, but that's a whole nother thing to go down.
Yeah.
But
I think I guess maybe one conflict that I see that is the potential issue with this is I think we have a habit in the trans community, because there isn't as much data as there ought to be on our care and our health and our well-being and all of that stuff, to share a lot of information within the community, right? Like I think a good example of that is with regard to progesterone. There's very, very little evidence that progesterone actually does anything for you at all in terms of breast growth, in terms of sexuality. And yet, If you scroll
Dude.
Twitter for 0.2 seconds, you will see a million girls being like, oh, prog high, I'm so horny. Oh my gosh, my boobs grew 18 sizes when I started taking prog. Like, it's very much a thing in the community that there's this notion of progesterone having some effects that there's no evidence that it actually has. No empirical evidence, I should say. But again, these things aren't studied as robustly as they should be. So I want to leave room for this notion that what's empirically studied isn't necessarily indicative of what is the case. But yeah, I feel like I personally have really strong I also have like, while I would consider myself a woman, I would tell you, like, phenotype, I'm far more close to female than male. I have a strong resistance to calling myself female, and I know so many trans women who would be like, no, I am female, do not call me male, right? And I think I have personally a resistance to that sort of approach of, well, it's similar enough to where there's probably utility in using it this way. Only because I think until we get the chance to study this and actually have some sort of informed opinion, I just personally can't do that, you know? But I don't know. Josie, I've talked a lot, and I want to hear if you were trying to butt in here. I saw you were kind of like itching a little.
Yeah, no, I think that it's very interesting because I think the main part here is everybody has a unique experience about how they experience the world, how they view the world. And really, and this is the take I take, it's like, it's really nobody's business. Like, if you have, you know, a symptom or something that is happening to your body, like, it's like we already have such a problem with doctors believing just people in general when they have medical conditions. It's like, oh, you don't actually have that thing. Oh, that's not actually possible. And in reality, it's like when somebody tells you what's going on with them, just believe them. Right? It's silly to kind of just be like, oh no, this isn't the thing that's actually happening. And, you know, and going into like the progesterone stuff, I actually do know a doctor right now currently who's doing a massive trans woman study on progesterone. And so there isn't enough studies to do that. But I think over time, the trans community, I'll my own personal experience, and I know a lot of trans people that have this very similar experience, go into the doctor or endocrinologist knowing more about what they want done with their body than the endocrinologist or doctor even has a clue where to start. And I think that when you have such a body of, you know, conversations and anecdotes of like saying, progesterone makes me feel better. Progesterone, my breast size grew. Could it be that the time that they started taking progesterone, it was the time there was a growth spurt right there? That type of stuff is also possible coincidence. But we can't deny the fact that there are people, even if, you know, may or may not be, I know people who taken progesterone and say, oh my God, I got my sex drive back. Right. And to me, that's a pretty significant change in somebody's life. And if somebody says, I do not have a sex drive before progesterone, it's like, whoa, like that's a big deal. I'm glad that this is happening for you. Here's your quality of life increase. Continue, go forth and continue to do this medication that's life-saving for people. You know, so
I've never really had a sex drive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's okay. ACE exists, you know, and
I know.
You know, and so there's a lot of things that we can talk about on this topic, but I think what I take away from it overall, from the whole conversation and the discourse about trans women and PMS symptoms, is letting people, I know you got a cat there or something.
My dog.
Basically, oh, your dog. Okay.
She wants attention now.
Oh, of course. Right. My dog got annoyed and walked away. So anyways, the thing that I think that is really important here is the fact that a lot of people use and weaponize anecdotal stories of people who are just sharing their lived experiences in a certain way, and then try to use that person's anecdotal story to then weaponize that story against this person is wrong, right? And I was on a Twitter, I don't know why I did this. I was on a Twitter conversation debate with Buck Angel, Blair White, and Posey Parker. The three of them were on a call with a bunch of other people saying trans periods are bonkers and nuts and unbelievable, and I was the only person being like you're like comparing like 5 people on TikTok, and you are like saying this is the whole lived experience for everybody, and it was a crap show. And I was stood there and I held my resolve. I'm like, hey, symptoms happen, people experience hormones in different ways, so that's just how people have to deal with it.
Yeah, William, do you have thoughts? Sorry, we talked a lot.
No, I don't really have comments. That's
Okay.
All I know is that I probably can't get. I probably have a hard time getting health care here because Arkansas.
Yeah,
Arkansas.
I know. I saw
We
that
have
label and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
we have Sarah Huckabee Sanders as our governor, who has actively said that she will refuse to cooperate if like LGBT identities get added to the protections, to the like protections equal whatever opportunity things. You know what I mean? I can't work right now.
No, that's okay. I do like, I get what you're saying, Josie, about, I'm not trying to discredit people's lived experience. Like like you're saying, I've seen it 100 times where people are like, I had no sex drive, I took progesterone, all of a sudden I had a sex drive again. And I don't think that's nothing, but like people underestimate like the amazing impact of placebo, and like, what if, a sugar pill would give them their sex drive back? Like I guess I'm resistant to us. I don't know. It's just my nature. I am very much an evidence-based person, and it's really hard for me to be like, until there's like a stronger body of data to be like, yes, that's progesterone doing that. Yes, that's like a PMS symptom. I want to see like, it's incredibly difficult. And I do totally also agree that a lot of doctors, I think if a trans person walks into their office and says, oh, hey, I'm experiencing cramping, I think it's like PMS symptoms, the doctor is going to be like, no, you're not. Or they're going to be like, okay, you're cramping, like have an Imodium or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like, I think you're backed up, sweetie, or something like that. And like, it's frustrating because I'm not trying to discredit people's experiences. I don't think anyone's lying about what they're experiencing. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying, I think the way that we talk about these things can sometimes conflate different concepts with what we're going through, or they may be the same. I'm hesitant for us to make like strong claims on it either way while we're in this state of not knowing and saying like, but I do completely agree that hormones are idiosyncratic. They affect everyone so differently. I mean, some trans women just from estrogen get very large natural breasts. Most of us barely make it past Tanner stage 2 of breast development, even with progesterone. And like you said, Josie, that is a huge criticism that I know has been made of the data with regard to progesterone use, which is most of the people who use progesterone were on estrogen for a significant period of time before they started using progesterone. So it's really hard to separate from the data. Like, was this spike in development actually due to progesterone, or the combination of the two, or was it just a spike from the estrogen? It's so hard to know. I don't want to discredit people's experiences. If somebody asks me, do trans women experience period symptoms? They might not get the answer that they that they get from other trans activists. This is my only thing.
The answer can be maybe, and that's not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my resistance is, can it be maybe? Because I don't know that we know that it can be maybe. I don't know that that's been established.
But there hasn't been enough studies to show either way.
Right, but maybe would require some sort of demonstration, would it not?
But the again, when it comes to healthcare, like the demonstration are sometimes the lived experiences of the people experiencing the symptoms, right? Like that's kind of how it works. That's medicine.
Right, but if we can't separate and identify the cause, then we can't actually establish that it may be this other cause.
But cause doesn't actually mean that you observe the fact, right? Like you can't. Sometimes you have a thing that happens and you have an observable outcome. Just because you can't figure out what that cause is doesn't mean that the observable outcome didn't happen.
No. I'm not saying that. We're talking about,
but that's why it's maybe.
But it's not, though, because we're saying I'm not refuting that an outcome happened. We're here to talk about whether or not period symptoms are what's happening or whether or not progesterone is having an impact. And we don't know that there is a maybe there, is what I'm saying.
But we also don't know it's not either. So you don't know if it is. You don't know where if it's not.
Yes, but we don't. This is literally the religious argument, though. We don't get to establish a possibility until we have established a possibility.
You can't observe a god. That's the difference. You can observe somebody's symptoms.
Yes, but you can't observe the cause until we establish that was in fact the cause.
But cause doesn't mean outcome doesn't exist.
But I'm not saying that. I've already established that. We're talking about the cause. We're literally talking about the cause. We're trying to say maybe this cause related to this effect. We agree that the effect already happened.
The effect is a PMS symptom.
No, that is literally, oh my God. No, the effect that we're observing is person has cramps, person has hormonal fluctuations. The effect that we're observing is breast growth happened.
So
what we're debating is what the cause is. Is that period symptoms or is that progesterone? That has not been established.
Well, see, now we conflated two different things. We're conflating progesterone and PMS, which I'm not.
They're two different arguments that we're using the same. We're using the two different. No, they're two different arguments that we're using the same irrational path to come to a conclusion to. We have not established an actual cause. That is exactly the problem.
Yeah, I don't think the cause is necessary for there to be a maybe.
Well, no, but in order to say maybe, we actually have to show that it may be. And we don't know that.
We don't know it. We don't know that, but we also don't know that it's not.
But that is literally the religious argument. You can't... Yes, we don't know that it's not, and I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying that to say it may be, we actually have to demonstrate it. And right now, we don't have any evidence either way. So you can't say maybe, you can't say no, and you can't say yes. We just have to say, we don't know. That is literally the...
Should I hang up and let y'all handle this?
I think so, William. No, thank you, William. We really appreciate your call.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the parents are arguing. Just step out, walk backwards.
Mom and Mom are fighting. I'm going in the other room.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, William.
Thanks, William.
No problem. Y'all have fun. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. So, Arden, I'm gonna say this because I think we're two ships passing the night right now in this debate. I don't think we're actually debating on the same thing. So what I'm saying is, person transitions and takes hormones.
Take notes.
And then something happens and this person now has symptoms that are very similar, or some symptoms that are similar to PMS, right? This person didn't have those symptoms before they transitioned. So something happened for this person to start experiencing these symptoms. And just because we don't have the direct evidence that it's the hormonal transition, we can assume that the outcome is some form of PMS symptom. So that's why it's a maybe, because there's no other thing that changed.
I don't think we can assume that, though, is my whole point, is that I think that is unjustified to assume that. I think we can acknowledge that the person is experiencing a symptom and that we need to figure out what it is. I'm just saying that people are saying it may be this, and they think it is this, or it's not this. And I'm saying all of those claims are unjustified. We don't know what happened here, and it warrants exploration.
It does warrant exploration, but we're exploring a very specific thing, which is the cycle of hormones.
Sure.
We're not exploring, like, we'll just use, Matt's, explanation of fairies from another universe coming in and blowing pixie dust on people and now have PMS symptoms. That is an outrageous claim. But what I'm saying is somebody went through a physiological change with hormones, so therefore it is well within the realm of possibility that that hormone fluctuation is what is causing a PMS symptom, which is caused by hormone fluctuations in cis women.
And I don't dispute that it could in fact be similar. I dispute that we can make a claim about maybe yes or no is what I'm disputing. That any claim is warranted.
Maybe. It's a maybe. Because
we're gonna have to let this go. No. I'm gonna stop it. We're gonna have to let this go. I'm gonna stop it. We have to let this go. No, it actually is the same exact line of logic. So I'm gonna stop it here because we literally can't do this right now. And I'm actually gonna get so pissed off. So we're gonna have to move on because it is literally the same exact argument. So.
No, because
all right, nope. We're taking Pip in the UK. Hello, that says Devin. That's not your name. Pip in the UK. You're live. Oh, I didn't hit the button. You're live on the line. What is going on, Pip?
Well, it seems you've gone so long without a spicy call on this show. You had to add some spice yourself. You just couldn't, could you?
I told you I was going to be the bad guy on this call, and that's totally fine. I listen. People have a lot of experiences and they have a lot of feelings about this, and that's totally valid. I just prefer to apply the same skepticism that I apply to everything else to even claims about lived experiences of trans people, because that's what skepticism is.
Well, now that you mention that, that leads me quite nicely onto my question. It's about puberty blockers, because I've had quite a long conversation with my mother about the CAS report, and she is generally of the conclusion that the conclusion of the CAS report is that we need more time to research and understand to give trans kids the best quality of care that you can. But within that, there is this weird claim about, how puberty blockers work, and that she is claiming that while treating cisgender children for precocious puberty, is all fine and dandy, giving it to potentially trans children who would normally be going through puberty, that can somehow cause some lasting effects because they didn't go through puberty at the quote-unquote right time. And my understanding of puberty blockers are that they are essentially a pause button. And as such, that they just withhold the hormones that start puberty until such time as either they want to come off them and continue regular puberty, or medically transition in whatever way that entails. So I'm coming to you to ask, are there any potential, longer-term side effects of not going through puberty at a typical time because of puberty blockers?
So, quick answer, no. There is no long-term effects, because the effect is you are just pausing the development of a person at that period of time into going into adulthood. So, like, for example, everything is temporary, right? And then there is a point when a human has to go through a puberty. Now, what puberty blockers do is they pause that point in that person's development, and then after they choose either to go through their puberty of their assigned at birth, or they choose the puberty of the trans cross hormone puberty, that would essentially be the other puberty, I guess, in the trans way. So the long-term effects don't exist, because once you go through that puberty, you are now caught up to the adult who went through the puberty at an earlier cycle. Because if that was the case, somebody who goes through puberty at 12 would be at a higher development than somebody who goes through a natural puberty at 14. But there is no evidence to provide that. So there is no long-term effect of puberty blockers. Unless, and I'll say this with a caveat, if you are going through puberty blockers and you're not getting enough calcium, for example, and then you're going to suffer the effects of not having enough calcium. But that isn't because of the puberty. It's because somebody wasn't given the right nutrition at the point of growth and development, right? So there's that's the only difference, right? But that's why you have blood tests, that's why doctors are involved with puberty blockers, so people can detect any type of things or needs that person is going through, be it be more calcium, be it be more vitamin D, or anything like that, just like any growing, developing human should be able to have in their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
co-sign all of that. The only thing I want
sense.
to add to that, sorry, Pip, real quick. The only thing I want to add to that is there could technically be long-term side effects, but only if doctors are using them against the guidelines. Using them for a period of longer than 2 years without introducing either cross-sex hormones or allowing their endogenous puberty to recontinue can have long-term effects, but that is against the guidelines that doctors use them for in every condition. So, like, sure, there could be long-term side effects if you have an evil, maniacal doctor who's trying to, like, do medical malpractice on you, but that's a totally different issue, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That makes a lot more sense because when I think, like I said, when I think of puberty blockers, I think of it as a pause button. All you're doing is, disconnecting. It's like disconnecting a cable between one of my bass guitar pedals. If you disconnect that cable, then the signal's not going to go through. It's not going to activate. But that doesn't mean that when you reconnect those, signals, it will, never activate again, or anything like that. So, to be perfectly honest, I'm really not sure where my mother got this idea of, puberty happening later being potentially damaging. I really just want to make sure that, I get my facts straight on the science before I really try to tackle this, because the last thing I want is to be, spreading any more misinformation. Because for as ignorant as my mother is, she is well-intentioned. We are both science-minded people, and she comes from a scientific background. She's worked in chemistry before, and so we want to make sure that we have the facts so that, both trans and cis children, whatever, gender affirming care they need, if any, is exactly what they need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and Pip, I want to mention really quick, there is a study that does show the difference in, there's like an IQ graph that exists of, like, if you delay somebody's puberty, their developmental cognition is delayed. But the reality is, it's the same thing that we were talking about before. It may be delayed at that moment, but as soon as puberty is then activated again, like you said with that bass pedal, the cognition and IQ goes all the way back up to meet the same person who started puberty before as well. So there is a graph that exists like that. Just make sure if she does try to pull that out, it's like the person who has delayed puberty always matches the same level. The temporal is not important here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you very much for the call. I know it's not, perhaps as spicy as my topic last week, but I really appreciate the information all the same, and I definitely feel I've got a stronger foundation for what I'm trying to talk about now. So
absolutely.
I'll talk to you another time. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye,
Thanks,
Pip.
Bye.
And Pip will always forever be remembered as the caller that was online when Trump was charged guilty.
Right. Yeah, I know. We had that other caller too, but we had to just drop it all because.
I know.
Oh my God, the tea. Okay, we do have another caller on the line. We also have some open lines. So if there's anyone in the audience who would like to call in, let's not reopen the can of worms today. Maybe bring it back next week. We're not gonna reopen the can of worms today.
The chat's got some good ones. They've been doing some really good analogies, but we don't have to get back into it today.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're not going to get back into it today.
Figure out the cause of gravity, things like that.
All right, I will be the bigger person. Tejana in Croatia, pronouns are she, her, wants to talk about being who she is a straight ally, wants to understand trans issues and how a non-binary person can be gay. Interesting.
Yes.
Tejana, you are live. Talk to us.
Yes. Yes, hello. First of all, happy Pride Month. And English is not my first language, so please be patient with me regarding my pronunciations and language and everything. So, I am an ally. I learned a lot through line about transgender issues. There's a lot of the things that I do not understand. But my question is, since sexual orientation, as I understand it, is connected to gender, she or him, or yes, she or him, and non-binary people are they, them. So, how can non-binary person can be gay? Because, gay person is attracted to the same sex. So if you could please understand, because when I try to think about it, truthfully, my brain starts to hurt because I can't explain that to myself.
So I think the first thing I would address is that I wouldn't say that to be if you consider yourself gay, that is about same-sex attraction, or that it's more about gender attraction. You're attracted to someone's presentation, right? So like if you're saying like I'm attracted to women, you're attracted to people who you perceive to be women, but you don't know everyone's gender. Some people can look like one gender but actually have a different gender. And so I think it's not quite as black and white as it sounds like you're kind of laying it out to be in your head, and that might be part of the problem. When it comes to non-binary people being gay, I think it's more that I've definitely heard non-binary people use the label gay, and people can, in my opinion, people can use kind of whatever label they want. I think labels and language in that regard are our little plaything, and we can shape them in the way that makes the most sense to express our, lived experiences. And I think when a person is saying that they're gay, they're just kind of trying to give you a broad sense of what their sexuality might entail, but it's almost always going to miss the nuances. I mean, there are straight cisgender men who are attracted to trans women, and I don't think that makes them, a different sexuality, but in someone else's head, that might entail being like pansexual or something, you know what I mean? So I think this stuff is, I think the issue that I'm saying is it sounds like you have maybe some black and white thinking with regard to gender and sexuality, like there is like a box or like a switch that you are like activating. Yes. Whereas rather, I think it's more of like a confluence of different things going on that you kind of interpret as that experience. But Josie, you want to hop in on that?
Yeah. So like, for example, I know, or I've actually dated straight men, and, they're attracted to me because not only do I have a feminine expression, but I also have the gender identity of a woman. And, it's one of those things where it's like being attracted to the identity of another person. There's a lot of different ways to be able to do it. In fact, I think that if you were to tell the man that I dated, that he was pan and not straight, you would have been like, what? No, that's not right. I'm only attracted to women. And so it's like also a little bit of self-identification as well. So as far as I'm not non-binary, but I know a lot of non-binary friends and people that I'm close with that I consider family. And the way they see their relationships is they say, oh yeah, all my relationships are queer. Right? They were just like, it's not on the spectrum of lesbian or gay. Some of them feel that way depending on what type of partner they pick up. They'd be like, oh yeah, I'm in a queer lesbian relationship, and they're non-binary, but they more identify with the sapphic side of the spectrum, maybe. Or I've also had non-binary people who present more masculine, and they are like, no, I'm gay, and they're attracted to the more masculine spectrum of the people that they are interacted with. And I think that's the beauty of non-binary for a lot of folks, is that non-binary is neither man or woman. So therefore, any relationship with a man or woman is some form of queerness, some form of not straight. Right. And maybe if you think about it in that context, that somebody who's non-binary doesn't have a straight relationship, right, is probably a little bit better way of seeing it, right? Because there is a specific thing about being straight, right? Somebody who identifies as a man dating somebody who identifies as a woman is straight. A non-binary person kind of isn't in the category of straight because they don't identify as either a man or woman, so therefore there is no binary of the straightness of that, right? So it really, again, comes up to the person who is non-binary. If they say, no, I'm in a straight relationship, and they're non-binary, well, that's how they see themselves, so just accept it. But most non-binary people I know are just saying, I'm not in a straight relationship, so this is some form of queer, gay, or lesbian. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Go ahead, Tiana.
Yes.
I have one thing to add, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Non-binary is the concept that I'm most struggling with. Gender fluid is more let's say reasonable. I know it's the wrong word, but I'm lacking the word right now. Because I'm feeling today I'm feeling like a woman. Tomorrow I'm feeling like a man, and I can wrap my head around it. Non-binary is the concept that I'm most struggle with, because I don't know personally. I never met a non-binary person. I never met in the real life. I never met a transgender person, at least that I know. Because Croatia is a small country. It's a very conservative country, and it's a very hot topic issue. Less than in the USA, the things that are happening there right now. I feel so sorry for all of you, women, queer people, LGBTQ people in particular. So this is a small country, and we don't have much conversations about that. And people, when I want to talk with someone about that, they say, I don't care about that, that's not my problem. And the only person that I can talk about it is my daughter. She's pan, she's 21 years old, she's pansexual, and she explained so much things, so much of the weird things to me. And I was struggling with the pansexual also, but I think I kind of get it now. But, non-binary is just such a strange concept, because I'm straight, I am cis, and
sorry,
I never met a transgender person, so I don't have that kind of a relationship, and it's hard for me to understand, and I really, 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 really want to.
Yeah. So Tiana, when a trans person, like a trans woman or a trans man, I think Josie and I both articulated on the show before that a big signal was that when I was, being pressured to engage in like masculine things or, hanging out with the boys kind of notions, I felt severely uncomfortable. And that was kind of a big indicator to me about being a trans woman. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So
that I understand.
So I think all you have to do is understand that a non-binary person, one of my close friends, a roommate of mine from years ago, was non-binary, and the way they explained their experience was they were assigned female at birth, they knew they weren't a girl, and they were like, I gotta transition. And as soon as they started passing as a masculine person and fitting into masculine spaces, they immediately felt the exact same way in masculine spaces. And they were like, wow, this feels just as wrong trying to be a man as it felt being forced to be a woman. I think what I would rather acknowledge is that I am me, and I don't fit into either of these boxes that people want to put me in. And I would rather just acknowledge that my gender is outside of the boxes that society has drawn for me. That was what helped me understand it the most, was that the non-binary person experiences the exact same thing that I did. They just experienced it both ways.
Yes, what you just said, I am me. That's the best explanation I've ever heard, and it's so simple.
Yeah.
I am me.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah,
so
and
I'm glad that
I
that
have
helped.
just one more question, if I could, if you have just a few minutes more.
Sure.
What is the most effective way to explain someone without getting into biology difference between gender and sex? I was so pissed off the other day when I was in that discussion on Facebook about gender and sex, and I don't know how to reiterate to people that it's not the same thing. And
Right.
I failed. I failed spectacularly.
No, that makes sense, and it's okay. In history, sex and gender were very closely related, and that's the way society used to do it. So right now, even here in the United States, we still have arguments with people who think sex and gender are the same thing. But the way that I look at it is, sex and gender don't correlate to each other all the time. Sometimes when somebody's cis, their gender correlates with their sex. That's just how it is. That's what makes them cis. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Sex usually denotes what you were assigned at birth, right? So somebody who is like sexed as a male, they have a penis, they have testicles, they have, all of the phenotypes and things like that. That is like the reproductive sex. That's what people kind of think about when you think about sex. And that isn't really, that's something that exists, right? Like trans people don't say that sex isn't real because I'm a trans woman. I know what that means. I knew what I needed to do to my body to make myself feel more comfortable as the trans woman I am, right? Now, gender is what you identify as, right? And so, and that's regardless of how you express, right? Gender expression is also different from everything else. So with gender identity, somebody says, I'm a woman, so therefore they identify as a woman, they relate with other women, and that is how that is usually connected in that sense. So, one of the things I like to do to people who try to say sex is real, sex, I do this because it's a wordplay, is like, do you have sex with somebody or do you have gender with somebody? Right? Because if they were the same, then those words would be the same thing, right? It's like, oh, I have gender with them. It's like, what did I have gender with them mean? Oh, I have sex with them. Oh, that is something that actually makes sense, right? So just definitionally in that sentence, you can tell that sex and gender are different, right? Because if they weren't different and they were exactly the same, then that sentence would work both ways, but they don't, right? So there is just a very linguistic trick that you can have in a sentence with somebody of like that, but in reality, somebody is going to try to conflate the two and say these are the same, but they're not. Because if they were, trans people wouldn't exist. There would be no trans women in the world, right? And so people who try to say that sex and gender are the same are not realizing the reality that sometimes it's not. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you. I'll try with that. Next time because it's really frustrating to trying to explain people and trying to make them not accept but to acknowledge that trans people exist, gay people exist, and they are here. You are here, and you are human. You are people, and you have the right to be here. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound really bad, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. And I really get pissed off because I have a pansexual daughter, and she's going to have some problems. If people found out that she is pan, she's not hiding it, but she's not, making it known to everyone, because I'm afraid of my reaction. What my reaction is going to be if someone said something bad about her. That's the reason why I don't tell people that she is pansexual. If someone asks, okay, I'll say, yes, she is, or she's not straight. But, she's my daughter, and I'm very protective of her. So,
Of course.
Yeah. No, also, saying that,
and I'm
by the
really
way,
trying to understand everything.
when you're like, oh, I want you guys to have good lives, and you're like, I don't want to sound bad, that doesn't sound bad at all. That sounds like the
That sounds great.
Yeah, that's the exact position I want everyone to have. Like, you don't have to be a trans activist, but just, like, care that we are in society with you, and that, like, we're not trying to hurt anyone. We just want to also have the right to live our lives,
Yes, I really want that for you. So, as I said already, I'm really sorry for everything that is happening there. I'm familiar with the things that are happening through TikTok, through YouTube, through your channel, and some other channels. So, good luck. Good luck this election season. And personally, I think you're fucked either way. Biden wins, Trump wins, because it's a lose-lose situation. Watching it from the outside, it's different. You see almost everything. It's not so personal, so you have some objective opinions. So I think you will not have a good time no matter who wins. I really, really hope that you will be will be okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Tayana, for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're going to take some of the next callers, but...
And thank you. Thank you for your channel, for education, for everything you do, even though we are on the opposite sides of the world. As I said, I learned so much, and keep going the way you are.
Bye.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, shoot. I didn't hear her talk.
She's saying bye.
Yeah.
She was saying bye.
No, that is really cool, though. It is really touching whenever I see, like, our viewership, like, in India or Germany or things like that, where I'm like, wow, it's so wild to me that we reach people across the world. Like, this isn't, like...
I love it.
Yeah, like, this isn't the biggest performing show on the line by any means, but, like, it's cool that we can still reach people. Yeah. Okay, we have 2 potentially spicy calls on the line. I think we're gonna give those preference. So we're gonna talk first to Tony. All right, we'll do Tony in Virginia. Pronouns are he, him. Tony, button work. Tony, you are live on the line. The buttons are giving me problems today. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for taking my call, and happy Pride to you both and everyone else in the chat and listening online. I hope this isn't a terribly spicy call. I didn't intend for it to be. I do want to preface this by stating I am a white, cisgendered, straight male, so I have absolutely no dog in this fight whatsoever, and I fully recognize that. My only role can be as an ally, and I want to be the best ally that I can be. I don't always get things correct, so if I say something, use a term wrong, something like that along the lines that is insensitive or offensive, I apologize in advance. It is not my intent to offend anybody whatsoever, so I just want to put that out there. I genuinely just want to be educated, okay?
Yeah, no, thank you for all of that, Tony.
Okay, so to put this in the most compact way that I can, having grown up I was born in the early 80s, and the women's lib movement was very prominent throughout most of my life. And there have been a lot of initiatives pushing for, women can do anything men can do, and equality between genders, and so on and so forth, and sort of blurring the lines between genders and erasing gender stereotypes and all of that. And as I've heard more of the discussion surrounding transgender issues, I almost feel like certain gender stereotypes are being reinforced, or more firmly established, for lack of a better way of putting it. But it's like, if we identify these things make me a woman, these things make me a man, so on and so forth, and very often those things fall into the realm of traditional gender roles. And I feel like we as a culture have been pushing very strongly over the last several decades to move away from those traditional gender roles and stereotypes. And I'm having difficulty kind of reconciling those two sides, because, I'm a feminist in the sense that I want equality for all genders, and absolutely an ally for the entire LGBT plus community. And I have trouble reconciling this. I recognize that you guys are not a monolith, so you guys do not represent the entire community, and so I'm not going to, regard you as such. But I wanted your thoughts, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I definitely have thoughts, but Josie, do you want to jump in on that?
Well, I just wanted to jump in, yeah, absolutely, about, gender stereotypes and erasing. I think what I think about first when you bring, gender stereotypes is how gender stereotypes have been evolving ever since the beginning of civilization has had any type of gender categories in certain ways. Like just, 100 years ago, we would raise children in, little fancy frilly dresses and, cute shoes, and didn't gender little boys until like 5 or 6 years old type situation, right? And, pink used to be a bold color and was associated with heavy masculinity and things like that. So I think as a society, we always are evolving on what gender stereotypes exist. So I think like the idea of like erasing gender stereotypes is kind of like something that humanity is always going to do and then fall into another, right? It's like, oh, we get rid of this gender stereotype and now there we have another one, right? I think it's just how society kind of like, imitates each other, and people kind of do that. And when it comes to supporting trans issues, like for me, my femininity is very close to the way my mother and my sister's femininity is, right? And it's kind of like how I was raised and how I was brought up. When, my nieces, for example, their femininity is, I guess, more in line with, well, I guess my sister who is younger, but like has a different femininity than me and my mother, for example, right? She doesn't have grandma's sense of style. She has her mom's sense of style, right? So I think that a lot of times, especially for me, I kind of picked that up and I was like, this is the way I want to be as a woman and express myself. And that's just how I kind of am. So yeah, I think it's a more complex question of trying to erase stereotypes other than just I am doing what I need to do to be seen and gendered as the woman that I feel I am in society. It just happens to be that feminine style that I have, I guess. But go ahead, Arden.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I think I would also say that I think a lot of my expression of femininity has to do with kind of the environment that I was raised in. I mean, I was raised, my sibling was my sister at the time, and my mom and my grandmother was like the majority of the environment I was in growing up. And so I was, around them a lot, and I think I absorbed a lot of that stuff. But I also want to say, like, you're kind of talking about how, like, oh, these stereotypes are what makes me a woman. And I want to just say that that is not the claim that, like, any trans people are making. I think when we're observing that, like, we may have engaged in typically feminine, like, stereotypically feminine behaviors earlier in our lives, it's not to say that that is what made us a woman, but rather to notice that, oh, I think on some subconscious level, I was already observing and, like, integrating those feminine stereotypes into my sense of self from a young age, because a part of me knew that I was a woman from that young age, right? Or a girl, I guess, at the time. But I would also say that, like, I think trans people almost certainly engage in more gender diverse behavior than cis people. Like, when you go to a like a trans support group, like, you might see a couple people who are like really conforming to stereotypical gender roles, but you're also going to see a lot of people who are like, no, I'm a woman, but fuck gender roles. So I always kind of find it interesting that people have somehow gotten this notion in their head that what trans people are advocating for is like a conformist thing. Like, while Josie and I might happen to conform with femininity, I think that has a lot more to do with, because, and Josie already articulated this, so I'm kind of just reiterating it in my own words. It's more about like communicating my gender to people. It's like, I want people to recognize that I am a woman, and these are the ways that I have learned how to do that. But it's not that I'm saying to be a woman, you have to have long hair or a feminine appearance. I think, like you said, women can be whatever they want. If women want to be super butch and masculine presenting, that's awesome. If women want to do, like, we talked to someone on Chewed Gum on Tuesday night who was like, well, women, only like 98% of the people in this field of work are men. So if all the men disappeared, that would never get done. And it's like, no, but 2% of those people are women and they can clearly do the job. Like, I think, yeah, women are absolutely capable of doing anything men can do. Yeah, there's nothing about being trans that is saying that, like, gender stereotypes are good. I think we do use the same gendered language that cis people use to communicate our identities, but that's not saying that, like, I think gender roles are awesome and everyone should be like, all women should be like me, you know? That's definitely not the message at all.
Okay. And forgive me if I didn't explain, if I didn't give my perspective adequately enough or appropriately. I didn't mean to imply that the stereotypes were identify the gender. It was more of that, just that, as people say, you know, these I identify as this, and so I'm going to make these external changes because they tend to align more with this particular gender and what have you. It was more of a, you know, incidental aspect that, you know, by striving to be more feminine or more masculine, the stereotypes end up being reinforced. And that's just kind of the thought behind it. Not to refute any of the rest of what you said, because I definitely appreciate that. I just wanted to clarify that point.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add too, because somebody in chat did say this as well, is that these criticisms are usually focused on trans people and not so much on cis people. So, like, for example, for every like one hyper feminine trans woman, there's like a million hyper feminine cis women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, I feel that usually a lot of times these arguments kind of focus in and zoom in on trans women to be kind of like the arbiters of what stereotypes they're taking on. So therefore they're breaking gender, right? Or they're conforming in this certain way. So it's kind of like if the argument was, and I'm not saying you, I'm just saying for people who make criticism against trans women, if that argument was sincere, then they would be going after every hyper feminine cis woman and saying, how dare you, and wag their finger, right? But people really do wag their finger at trans people first before they wag their finger at like Pamela Anderson, or, you know, like, and that's something that to think about as well.
Well, I mean, there is that debate somewhat publicly where, you know, fairly conservative women will come out and advocate on behalf of traditional, you know, homemaker, you know, stay-at-home mom type gender roles, and saying this is the way it's supposed to be. And those people tend to come under flack for, you know, sort of putting female or women's issues back several decades and so forth. So, I mean, that conversation does happen as well. I definitely appreciate the perspective, though, and I see some of the stuff that's going on in chat here, and again, I'm not meaning to ruffle any feathers. I genuinely want to be on the right side of these issues, and it's just a matter of you know, trying to find the best way to be an ally.
I think. Sorry, I want you to finish. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, just to kind of pose a thought experiment, wouldn't it be preferable in an ideal society to erase any notion of what is masculine or feminine and just say, hey, I'm a man, this is what I wear. Hey, that's a woman, this is what they wear. And everybody can do and say and be anything that they want to do and say and be. And you know, the external doesn't seem to matter anymore.
I think
which I kind of felt was the way we were moving over the last several decades.
Well,
and
I have two objections. I think I wouldn't say that, I'm a man or a woman, I can wear whatever I want. I think the ideal society would be where we don't identify as men or women. We are just people with bodies who wear what we want. We're attracted to whoever we're attracted to, and we give jobs to whoever gets jobs. Like, I think the entire notion of men and women in, like, the ideal gender-abolished society would not even exist. And the second objection was to something you said right after, but I've already forgotten in articulating that point. Do you remember what you had said, Tony?
Was it the trad wife thing? Because I think you had a thought in your mind.
I did have a thought about the trad wife, but it's gone. It was after you said in the gender abolished society, you said something that I had a response to, but I've already forgotten it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would absolutely support and advocate for a genderless society, you know, because just be who you want to be and live and let live and so on and so forth. I think that would be ideal, but I think that's a bit utopian. I don't know that we'll ever get to that point.
Yeah, I agree
with the bit utopian as well. I think also on the trad wife-ish on the thing about, like, I think what makes people ruffle their feathers against, like, the women are like, we need to go back to is the prescriptive nature of it, right? Mm-hmm. I think if somebody's saying you have to be this way or you can't be this way, those are the times where people get really ruffled about, like, what? Because, like, you know, trans people aren't going around saying, this is how you become a woman. This is how you're supposed to be a woman. So everybody should follow this ideal. Then I would get my feathers ruffled, because I do get my feathers ruffled against trans women who do that kind of crap. And, you know, and I do, believe me. And so I think when people start getting prescriptive with the way people should be perceived, I think that's when things go awry, right? And I think that a trans woman, and this is where people get their wires twisted, a trans woman living her best self, existing, is not that prescription of all women. And I feel like a lot of people who are very critical of trans women see a trans woman, or even a drag queen for that matter, will be like, oh, this is what they think women should be. And it's like, we're not prescribing anything like that, right? It's like and I think that's where I think things get twisted. It's like a person's just living their best life, living what they think is cute on themselves. Let them do that. That's the way it should be, because it goes back to that utopian ideal of be whoever you want, do whatever you want, doesn't matter, it's fine, you know. And I think that is living more closer to the truth than any other type of prescription. So, but no, Tony, I really appreciate your comments on this.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tony.
Arden, did you have something else to say? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I was just going to kind of reinforce what Josie was saying, that, like, you know, I think, it's fine to criticize. It's kind of similar to the criticisms of, like, what people tend to get done in cosmetic surgery, where it's like, I think it's totally fair to have a critical lens of, like, people who are advocating for the trad wife lifestyle, like, have critical lens of, like, you know, what their intentions are and how they are promoting their lifestyle, and, you know, why you might be inclined to get surgery X over surgery Y, you know, probably due to, like, sexism and white supremacy and these sorts of things. But I also think it's important to say, like, the goal of, you know, gender liberation is to let people do what they want, right? If they want to be a trad wife, if they want to get that surgery, to say, yeah, that's cool, because the goal of liberating gender is that people get to live whatever lifestyle makes them feel fulfilled. And we can critically analyze why they feel fulfilled by X over Y, but I don't think we should judge them for what fulfills them, because I don't think people really control that, right? Like, it's like judging someone for why they like vanilla ice cream. It's like, I don't fucking know why I like vanilla ice cream, I just do.
Well, and I've long been of the belief that anytime somebody is critical of the lifestyle of another person, it's because they're seeking affirmation of their own lifestyle choices as opposed to really giving a shit about what other people do. It's like they want to know that they made the right choices, and if somebody else made a different choice, then that runs the risk of somebody saying, oh, well, that choice is better than your choice. And I think that's why a lot of parents try to push lifestyles on their kids and stuff like that, because they just want to reinforce their own decisions and whatnot. But back to something, we seem to have this collective notion or awareness that the idea of living in a truly genderless society is something that we may never actually achieve. And I'm wondering if there isn't something intrinsic in all of us that we need to have some sort of like quick shorthand identifying ability to look at one another and sort of summarize each other in very general sorts of ways. I mean, I'm just spitballing right now, and this thought just occurred to me that maybe if there's not something evolutionary advantageous to being able to look at a person and make a snap judgment just even in a basic binary sort of way, that if that, maybe there isn't some reason that exists. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, humans are like notoriously amongst the great apes, the masters of heuristics. Like there's literally a name for our tendency to see patterns where there are none, like, in the stars or in the shape of a cloud or in the jacket hanging on the hook down the hallway that looks like a person, like pareidolia.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree that I think, and I've said this multiple times on this show, that I think gender abolitionism, much like, a lot of like socialist kind of notions that people talk about, are like really great utopias that are like, this should be like a guiding principle for us, right? To learn how to refine our society, to make it more egalitarian and more equitable. But whether or not we're ever going to really reach it, I think is probably unlikely. But yeah, I think I do think it is probably likely that humans are just, it's really makes sense on like a survival level, right? If you can make a snap judgment about someone, what is the type of error where it's like, if you assume that it's dangerous, but it's not, even though that's an error, you're still more likely to survive and therefore more likely to survive and pass on that sort of trait. It's like, I think those things are definitely carry an evolutionary benefit to a certain extent.
Yeah, and you're getting really philosophical in like anthropology as well, of like, because it really is interesting, because you can look back in history where you had closer, non-gendered societies, and then you also have the movement of pan-Europeanism, right? When pan-Europeanism is the one that started like the concept of whiteness, they also brought in the concept of gender binaries, right? Where they actually would go into African nations or Asian nations and called them genderless societies, to the point where they were just they would say that they were unhuman. Right. To be inhuman is to not have a gender presentation that can be seen at a snap judgment. Right. And they brought with them, along with colonialism, the long flowing dresses, the power dynamics of masculine households and femininity, and all of the different things that came with it, and kind of like almost broke humanity a little bit, right? Colonialism is like, one of the root evils of the world, right? I think we all know that through just historical precedents. But like colonialism also broke a lot of the ways that we viewed each other as just human beings in general. And that includes the gender binary, because sexism only exists inside of oppositional sexism, right? So if you have hundreds and almost 1,000 years of historical sexism, where men dominated women because of oppositional sexism, it's hard for the dominant class to let go of that power to say, oh, femininity and masculinity is the same. And, and that makes it much harder to reach that utopian principle, right? Of like, we're all going to be equal under the power structure, but yet in the United States we've only had male presidents, right? Like that is the reality of how we are having to deal with the historical precedents of the colonial patriarchy that we are now trying to break down. So when you're breaking down gender and saying let's abolish gender, you're also abolishing patriarchy, which is a much taller order in a lot of ways if you look at the power structures of the world. And so, because we can go way down the line on that, right? And I think that is where the society's kind of broke a little bit, and we're going to have to get back to that really rudimentary, like, gender, sexism. Like, why is there sexism? Can we abolish sexism? If we abolish sexism, then gender doesn't matter. But there's always going to be people that say sexism is important because man is master of the house. And it's a very, I can go on all day on that though.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we could open another 10 cans of worms. So if Tony, if you want to put a bow on it, we do have 2 other callers we want to get to, but I want to give you a chance to give your thoughts.
I was going to say, because the patriarchy's just done so much for us, you know.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I could say it's done a lot for me, but you know, at what expense? But I'm an advocate for the notion that we should all treat each other the way we want to be treated, and we should all live and let live. And I think if more people adopted those two, in and of themselves, just those two mentalities, I think a lot of these issues would go away. You know, the smaller our world gets, you know, as we move into the technology age, deeper into the technology age, you know, the more things people find they have in common. And I feel like the lines are getting blurred culturally, more and more racially and culturally throughout the world. You know, we find more in common with people that, you know, maybe 20, 30 years ago, we might have just thought of as so incredibly different from us and that kind of thing. And I don't know, maybe in our grandkids or great-grandkids' lifetimes, a lot of these issues will be, you know, they'll look back on us during this time frame, and it's like the way we look back in the Middle Ages and just be like, what the hell were those people thinking, you know? You know, fingers crossed, and I guess we'll see what happens. But again, happy Pride to everybody, and thank you so much for the time, and I apologize if I said anything that rubbed anybody the wrong way.
No, you're fine.
You're fine, Tony.
Thank you so much, Tony.
You.
I appreciate the conversation. It was really interesting.
I appreciate it as well. Thank you.
Bye. All right. We have 2 callers left on the line. This one, I always am like, ooh, it might be spicy. And then they're always like, I hope I'm not spicy. I genuinely just want this as like an intellectual inquiry, not trying to like attack you. So
yeah,
we'll see. Jack in Florida, pronouns are he, him, has questions about detransitioners like Chloe Cole and the concept of trans regret. So Jack, you are live. Why don't you tee it up for us?
Hi there. Yeah, so I'm an atheist. I used to be Catholic, and so I still continue to watch some of the Catholic YouTube channels just to get pissed off, to be honest. And one of them in particular, Matt Frad had Chloe Cole on, and she was a detransitioner. And I'm trying to be as good of an ally as I can, but when you have somebody like her getting her like testimony about like her detransitioning and making an argument that like gender doesn't really exist, or that gender roles should be followed, I really can't like explain her position. But I was just wondering what you guys thought about like the idea of trans regret or like detrans just transitioners.
Oh man, is there a soapbox? Josie, if you want to go, I mean, I have so many thoughts, so I don't know. I don't want to hog airtime.
So I'll start with this.
Okay.
The data shows that this is completely made up and not real. You look at all of the data that we just recently did of 92,000 trans people. 94% said that they are either happier or a little less happy or satisfied with life, right? You have 99% of people who have taken gender affirming care in the form of hormones say that they are a little or more satisfied with life, where less than 1% said less, right? And the little less than 1% said neither. And then you have on gender affirming surgery, the same number of 98% saying that they are more satisfied or a little satisfied, or 1% saying neither, and less than 1% saying less satisfied with life. So you have the data right there right off the bat that basically says that there is no trans regret when it comes to people that are going through transitions and being more satisfied with life. And when you actually look at when you actually look at surgical regret rate as well, you'll see that transition-related surgical regret rate is like 1% compared to, on average, any other surgery across the board being 20%. And that includes cardiac life-saving surgeries as well. In fact, more people regret pregnancy than they do any form of trans-related surgery. So the data is not there. Secondly, on Chloe Cole, and then I'll let Arden bite into this because I know she's chopping at the bit. Chloe Cole tries to express her one unique experience as the only experience that happens to trans people across the country, where I would argue that she is the very unique circumstance of a doctor who went too fast on one specific procedure and didn't actually give her the quality psychiatric care that is normally required under standards of care. So her doctor didn't follow standards of care according to her testimony. I don't know her doctors. I don't know what actually happened, but her testimony is not the normal situation of 99.9% of trans people in the United States, at least. Go ahead, Arden.
Yeah. I think I saw one older study. The newer studies that I've seen continually to confirm this like smaller and smaller number. The largest number I've seen of transition regret in an older study was like 3%. So again, you still have a number, even at the highest estimates, that's extraordinarily lower than most other medical treatment. Well, not most, a lot of other medical treatments that are not controversial. But furthermore, I think what's really interesting is they've also gotten data on why those people claim to regret transition, right? And more than half of them reported it wasn't because they just realized it was so wrong for them and it ruined their life, like Chloe Cole tends to say. Rather, it was that transitioning was so extraordinarily difficult because they experienced discrimination and harassment in school, the workplace, and their relationships, that they just figured it was easier to be miserably pretending to be cis than to be trans. And many of those people went on to transition again later in life. And I can actually tell you my personal experience. I started transition at 14. I experienced insane levels of harassment, death threats, rejection from peers, family, and all this stuff when I was a young teen. And I detransitioned at 17, tried really hard to be a man, and then at 22 realized, holy shit, I did that because of all the harassment I experienced made me fucking hate myself so much that I need to work on that. And when I worked on not hating myself, all of a sudden I realized I'm still trans. That literally didn't go away. And since doing that work, I have been literally happier than I ever have in my life. So just personal anecdote to confirm the data that I've seen. Yeah, I realize why it's compelling, because I think a lot of cis people think, you know, if I was forced to transition, that sounds like a nightmare to me. Like, holy crap, like how miserable that would be. But what a lot of cis people don't account for is that is what happens to trans people who aren't given access to medical treatment, right? Like, that is literally what our endogenous puberty does to us if we're not given access to treatment. So, yeah, it is, to be fair, for the very, very small percentage of detransitioners who do genuinely regret, there are insufficient resources for them. And there ought to be better resources for them to be able to have, you know, a body and identity that they feel comfortable with, to reintegrate into whatever role that they think is best for them. However, to say that transition care shouldn't be accessible to the 99% for whom it's beneficial because for 1% it's not beneficial, if we were to apply that principle across all of medicine, we would like basically abolish the entire medical field.
That's right.
Sorry, that was a lot. I know.
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted me to talk now.
No, you're good.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. And real quickly, I used to be against LGBT stuff. I used to be against trans stuff personally. Mm-hmm. And through listening to your show, I've done a complete 180, and I've changed my mind on a whole lot. So I just want to thank you because I feel like I'm a better person now.
Aw.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jack.
Jack.
Yeah, like people don't have
That's
to
why
be
I do it.
like trans activists. People don't have to be like gender abolitionists, but just like, you know, understand that trans people are just out here trying to live our lives. You know, that I said it earlier, but like that is genuinely, I just want people to not interfere with my ability to live my life. You know, that is like fundamentally, I think, the core of trans activism.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I will say this about Chloe Cole, too. She is flown around from, and I work in policy work and, you know, politics. She gets flown around from state to state to state as the only example in a lot of cases as a person who regrets their transition. And in reality, the fact, if this was such a widespread problem, they would have hundreds of detransitioners in every state ready to testify against the trans, you know, healthcare that is being provided across this country. But the sheer fact is, she's one of like 5 that are uplifted by a specific community that wants to outlaw our existence and doesn't want us to be able to receive life-saving healthcare. So I really have a big issue with Chloe Cole because she's trying to dictate to every trans person on what they should and shouldn't be, and that is a big problem. And it doesn't surprise me, Jack, that you said Chloe Cole and detransition in the same sentence, because that's what most people do, because she's one of the few that actually exist that says what she says. And so yeah, and Jack, I'll tell you this too. I used to also be anti-LGBT because I was raised Catholic. And I had a lot of internalized transphobia and homophobia. It took me until I was 34 years old to come out as a trans person because of the fact that people around me were not being accepting of queer people around me. So the fact that you exist as a person that is like, there's nothing wrong with this, this is completely fine. The people who are closest to you are going to be able to see that and know that you're safe. And you are essentially, just by your existence of an accepting human, could be saving a life right now. And so it's so incredibly heartfelt for you to say that, you know, we were there to help you understand. And I just want to say thank you for having an open mind and hearing our stories so you can be a better informed person and letting people live their lives genuinely.
Well, thanks. I feel really good now about myself.
Yeah, you should. Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Well,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jack.
thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks
Have
again.
a wonderful day.
Nice to- Bye.
All right. Bye, Jack.
Bye.
All right, we have one caller left, and then we're going to get to super chats. That is any super chat of $5 or more. We will read live on air. I ask that you try not to reinitiate the debate. I mean, like, if you type it, we will
It's
have
already
to
too
read
late.
it.
It's happening. I already saw it's happening already. Don't have wishful thinking.
Okay, listen.
Wishful thinking's not going to happen.
And Josie, you know that I wasn't shutting it down because I'm, like, angry at you, right? I was just trying to move the show along, like... We can have this debate in private if you want.
We are sisters.
Yeah, okay.
What are you talking about?
I saw some people who were like, Arden was like so like assertive, and people always have this notion of me being so mean. So I'm like, I want to be super clear that I love Josie. I'm just trying to like keep the train on the tracks because we would literally divert that conversation for like an hour. So.
Oh yeah, and you know, I work in politics. Nothing can destroy, like, break my center. Like, this is, it's just not possible. Okay,
it's good.
I'm a tough lady.
I knew we were cool. I was very confident we were fine, but I just saw chat and I was like, okay, I just need to like make this super clear before because I figured it probably would come up. But anyway, last caller today. We have Lee in MN is, I think, Minnesota. I hope so. They use any or all pronouns, so that's super cool. Lee has some questions about HRT. Lee, you are live on Transatlantic. What's going on?
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here. I admire you both. Thanks for everything you do. But yeah, I am a genderqueer, gender fluid person. I really like being non-binary and queer. but I do have some dysphoria, and I ultimately want to present more feminine. So I have my first appointment at the gender clinic coming up this month, and I'm just kind of a little nervous and, have some questions about what to expect. I've done a lot of research about starting HRT, and I just have seen a lot of different information online about the effects and which ones are stronger or how they differ between people. And then I guess the main thing is, like, as a gender fluid person, I'm wondering if it's okay to take the hormones, like, on and off, kind of, or if it's not going to be affected at all if I don't take them consistently. Yeah, so that's basically it. I figured y'all might have some insight.
Yeah, if our answers aren't satisfactory, by the way, next week Dr. Ben is going to be on, and he definitely has more, like, much stronger medical basis of knowledge. But
actual doctor.
Oh yeah,
I can tell you. So my understanding is that the data suggests that the most effective way to get something like breast growth is to start at a low dose of estrogen and to slowly work up, which I know every trans person in the world is like, the slow is going to make me scream because you want the results now, right? But, like, if you're looking for breast growth, that is something to consider, trying to get that slow dialing up in intensity to get you the best results possible. I think when it comes to estrogen, there is more of an issue with coming on and off. My understanding is that it's not as much of an effect when it comes to testosterone, because testosterone is so powerful, it can kind of shut down estrogen right away and cause effects right away, and you can kind of pick right back up if you come off. I think actually my sibling has like a testosterone gel thing that, like, a couple times a month they'll slap some on, but they don't want, like, super intense effects, so they can, and they've done that with their doctor and everything. But definitely, like, talk to your medical professional. Be very clear about what you're looking for, what kind of results you want. And while I know we often talk about how we as trans people know a lot more than our doctors half the time, I will say, generally speaking, I would try to trust that the medical professional probably knows what's better for your health than you do.
Yeah.
But like, if they aren't aware of, like, for example, I've had doctors who weren't aware of the first pass effect. For some people who take the oral estrogen tablets, when it's being processed by your liver, it gets converted into a weaker form of estrogen called, I think it's called estrone, but estrone might be the stronger one. I might be getting it backwards. It can get converted into a weaker form of estrogen, basically, where you have all the same risk profiles if it's really high in your levels, but none of the effects on feminizing your body. And so things like patches or injections or pellet implants can bypass that first pass effect and get you those results. So if your doctor doesn't know about that, you should let them know, so that way they can go do research and then come back and offer you whatever they're comfortable with working with. But Josie, do you have anything you want to tack onto that?
Well, yes, first, always listen to medical professionals, because Arden and I are not MDs.
Right.
And, we work with a lot of trans people. We know a lot of trans people that are on different hormone scales and things like that. And really just think about, like you said, what your goals are, like Arden said, right? With the idea of, when you say you want to reach a more feminine threshold of things, maybe you want to be on feminizing hormones for a while before you switch back off and get back. But like Arden said, if you stop estrogen, you're going to remasculinize very quickly. If you have testicles, right? Like, if you do, it happens pretty quick. Like, there was a point in time in my transition when the pills just stopped working because of the first pass effect, and I started masculinizing really quickly, and it hurt. I hated it so much. It was the worst thing ever. And that was like 7 months into my transition, right? So I did move the patches, and I'm much happier for it. But for me, it's really, as a binary, trans woman, I know exactly what hormone level I want to maintain. I'm now past bottom surgery, so I don't even have to worry about remasculinization. Now I have to worry about menopause. So there's like those different things that happen to your body. So honestly, definitely talk to a doctor about it. I would also talk to other non-binary people who are microdosing their hormones that may tell you exactly what that entails, right? Like I know some people who do testosterone blockers and a very low level estrogen, and it gives them a very androgynous type of feel. I don't know the science behind it, but that's what they tell me. And so really trying to find other people that have the lived experience that you're looking for could be very helpful. Not to copy. Don't crib their notes completely. You got to make sure that it's approved by a doctor, but to give you an idea of what you may be looking for. So when you go into that first appointment, you can say, I have heard these things. What do you think? And then the appointment can be more of a discussion and a conversation back and forth of what your treatment needs are going to be. Because that's the way it was with my doctor. I already had a pretty good idea of what I wanted, and my appointment became a discussion about what he felt was the best way to go with taking my notes into consideration. And I felt much happier leaving that appointment as well. So having a general idea of where you want to land is going to leave you in a better position if your doctor is good, right? Some doctors, I'm going to say, aren't great, and they're just going to say, no, I'm giving you this, you can't argue. Well, then maybe there's a time for you to maybe look for another doctor, or at least get your treatment started and then move and look for a second opinion, is always the case. Remember, you can always get a second opinion. You're not stuck with the first doctor that you see. So those are a few things that I would recommend. Again, I'm not a medical provider, and I am speaking purely from the point of view of having experience with other trans people and other trans people's treatment plans.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. Honestly, I couldn't ask for better insight. Yeah, I'm fully planning on following doctor's orders. I already know that I trust this doctor, has worked with
That's good.
some of my friends before. So, yeah, I already know that I'm going to trust them, so I will put pretty much full confidence in them as far as the medical stuff. And yeah, it's super helpful insight, and I will definitely try to reach out to more local communities and find more non-binary trans people to kind of talk about it with, because that's super important.
Yeah,
exactly.
Best of luck, Lee, and do consider calling back next week if you have the time and interest, because Ben is obviously going to give you. I mean, I don't think anything we said is particularly off base, but I'd be more confident with Ben's answers than any of mine.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
that's it then,
Thank you,
Lee.
Lee.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Alrighty. Let me close up those lines real quick, and then we will move on to the super chats. Okay. Oh, wait, I gotta send the first one, because otherwise it's gonna be my test super, and people are gonna be like, oh my god, that random chat, how did that get in there? People love to comment on, I get it. We've established a work culture here of griefing each other to all hell, and I can't complain, because, I've been a part of establishing that culture, so.
Oh, I'm sure.
All right, you wanna go first?
Sure. 5 pounds from Sean Usherwood. I set the set of all convergent sequences of integers is countable, and the set of all convergent sequences of rational numbers is not. throwing word math at me.
Yep. I just, man, yeah, I don't grok it.
Thank you, Todd.
$5 from Skeptoidius. Don't like the fact Edge can spy on you now. Well, you can disable their AI tool in Regedit.
In
Computer.
Regedit.
Okay. / H key _ current _ user I'm not gonna do that. It's like a fucking local address on your computer.
Run code. Yeah, it's a command prompt or something, or a run code.
I didn't know that Edge could do that. That's like the Microsoft.
Yeah, that's the Microsoft browser.
Right. They changed it. What did it used to be? Explorer. Right. They changed it.
Yeah.
It's still dog shit.
I mean, Chrome is now dog shit too now, because Google is now evil. Like, it is now evil.
Yeah, I mean, Google, I feel like every browser I see now has the AI answering stuff on it. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but anywho.
The world. $5 from William Mattis. Balls suck. Football, basketball, soccer, balls. They all balls suck. I don't want any in my house. LOL. What did you think I meant? What?
This is the William who called in.
But
that's
right.
It's not related to their call at all. I guess they're just saying they don't like balls, which. Okay.
Yeah, I get that. Sports balls, I stopped liking those as soon as I wanted to get rid of my other balls. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I've never been a sports balls girl myself.
Yeah.
500 Czech kronas from Naresh, which was pink, which means I think it's like $50-ish. Correct me if I'm wrong,
nice.
chat.
Thank you.
We might be close to that. Hello, I finally have a job, so you might see me super chatting to you awesome people again. Oh, congratulations. But the timing isn't great, so I hope to be sleeping by the time the show is over because of the morning shifts. # Darth Vader, don't apologize to him, or something. I don't know. Sweet. Well, we're glad to have you back, Naresh.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, your bills and all that stuff comes way before our super chats, but we appreciate the support.
$20 from Credo Boat. It would also be amazing if the endos dealing with trans folks were taught about HRT for the trans community in medical school, but that's maybe a bit lofty with the anti-trans sentiments in places. Honestly, the thing that's really frustrating is endocrinologists don't need to be the ones that have to prescribe HRT. If it became more widely known that general practitioners and nurse practitioners are able to actually prescribe HRT with the basic standards of care, then we wouldn't have the bottleneck that endos are dealing with right now. I had a really long, protracted conversation with a doctor that is in the trans health sphere, and they were very, very clear about that, and it made a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, my provider is a nurse practitioner, but I think maybe I'm wrong, but from what I've heard from Ben, I think he's had quite a lot of trans positive training in his medical practice, so I don't think it's not mentioned, but probably just not to the extent that it ought to be. I don't know, or maybe it's not. I don't know.
It's to the same extent that doctors are taught about pregnancy. It's like one page and one module, right? It's not deep into the system, and endocrinology is such a specified field that focuses a lot on thyroid and focuses on diabetes and all of that. So it's like it's wrong that everybody's saying, oh, I need to reference you to an endocrinologist specialist. You're a trans person. I don't want to deal with you. Go to an endocrinologist, where that is not actually the case. And that's what needs to happen more, is that if you're not an endocrinologist, you need to be trained in trans healthcare so you can provide your patients with what they need.
Yeah. I know when I was a teenager going through this when I was 14, that was back when we had the Harry Benjamin standards of care, because they overturned those in 2015. I started in 2014. So I just barely had to deal with a lot of those older standards of care, where I was forced to go to an endo, and she was lovely. She actually was married to a trans man, so she was very, very pro-trans and good on that stuff. But yeah, it's just so unnecessary. I mean, it's really basic care. So yeah. Totally
Really is.
co-sign everything Josie said. Another $10 from Credo Mott says, the cause of PMS symptoms in trans individuals may not be known, but the cure is a fat Dillahunty. Nice. Thank you, Credo Mott. That's pretty good. I mean, the cure for a lot of things is a fat Dillahunty. IMO. I actually, just a few days ago, have been on I'm not currently getting high kick, so see how long it lasts.
I stopped in January completely. Well, it's a very occasional. Like, I think I've hit something like 2 or 3 times in the past few months, but like I've quit.
Mm-hmm.
I've quit. That's it.
I'm hesitant because I just go back to full use if I do it again. But
that's how I kind of am. Yeah.
It's such a weird thing because like I feel very like motivated and I have a lot more energy when I'm not getting high regularly. But also, I've talked about this on the show, I have chronic, like very, very vivid nightmares when very, very vivid dreams generally, but they often become nightmares. And so I liked weed because it makes me not dream. I just sleep. So there's no like
it's the opposite
emotional trauma in my sleep.
I missed my dreams. I had some wild dreams last night. I love my dreams. I'm so happy I got them back.
Oh, no, that's what I mean. When I'm not, or did you get high last night? Is that what you're saying?
No, I love my dreams. No, I don't get dreams when I'm high.
Oh, you're saying you don't get bad dreams.
Now I get dreams, because I stop completely.
Yeah, no,
I love my dreams.
That is what I'm saying. I don't dream when I'm high, I'm smoking regularly, and when I'm sober, I do dream more, but the problem is they just turn to nightmares, so I'm always hesitant about it. But my dreams have been immediately, night one, were super, super visual and vivid, and I was just like...
That's how
even when they're not nightmares, it's like almost overwhelming. I'm like, oh my God, can you chill? Like, we're sleeping, dude. Like, calm down.
It slows down after a few months. If you stay sober.
I hope so. We'll see how long it lasts. I'm not trying to like guarantee myself sobriety or anything. I just did it for a couple days and I was like, I feel kind of good. We'll see how long this lasts.
Oh my gosh, do 3 months. That's the sweet spot. Then you're just like, oh, this is what sober Arden is.
Right.
That's what it's
right.
Yeah. $4.99 from Luis Richardson. I was off HRT for 20 years and I was always hot, like 20-year hot flash. In other news, I'm moving to Austin, the Triangle, on the 14th. All right.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Yeah, no, hot like that. So I'll say, not to dig in, but I think the analogy to PM or to menopause is a lot stronger, especially in people who are coming off HRT, because if you're not producing your endogenous hormones and you aren't getting them externally, that is literally what is happening in menopause, and the symptoms are identical. I have experienced that before, where I was like, my hormones went off, and all of a sudden it was hot flashes and like anxiety, and it's miserable. So I definitely have. It's bad. It sucks.
It sucks.
Me and my mom were commiserating because my mom's going through menopause, and she was like, "Oh my God, I know, right?"
Well, you know, that's just the thing is, like, you can get patches like any other trans person, and then skip your menopause altogether. I talked to a cis woman. She's like, I don't want to go through menopause, and I'm like, take patches, and she is now on patches, and she's like, fuck menopause. I'm like, yeah, your body, your choice, which was great.
I think I missed a couple of supers. I'm just realizing I missed. Wow, did I miss that many? Okay.
Oh, you're skipping the spicy ones. I see you, Arden. I see you.
Not even intentionally, but I missed like 5. So we'll go back and hit them.
Oh my God.
It's so hard because the way the system works, if I take them in order, it puts a green tick next to them so I know my place. But if I add one that I already skipped past, it erases all the ticks. So I'm like, I don't know what fucking ones I've done and I haven't anymore. So it sucks when I miss any. $5 from Jonathan. This might be a parallel to the hormone talk. If you get a headache after drinking coffee, does this establish that caffeine might cause the headaches? Potentially, yes. But in this case, it's different because we actually have evidence to suggest that might be the case, because caffeine makes you dehydrated and it constricts your blood vessels, both of which we know can lead to people experiencing headaches. So there's actually precedent for you to say, yes, this might be the cause. Even still, I don't think you could say it is the cause. I think you would need to investigate that, but at least you have precedent in that case to say it may be.
You can say maybe. You can say maybe then. Oh my gosh! All right,
yes, because there's evidence that exists to indicate a maybe. maybe requires evidence.
Hormone cycles exist. They're real.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
Just because it's lyrical doesn't mean it's right. $5 from Skeptitis. R, click on the blank space. New D word, name it, usage, stata in sample, value data 1, restart for it to take effect. Thank you, because I would have never known.
Yeah, this is the addendum to the earlier one. That was the command prompt thing, I think. So sorry for undermining your good advice, Skeptoideus. If someone wants to go back and like clip those together so you can understand them, that would probably be good.
Yeah, then you can stop the sneaky AI.
We got $5 from William Mattis again. Oh, this was. Wait, what do you think I meant? And then this one says, slay all. Oh, okay, no. Slay all ye kings, queens, in-betweens, and other beings. Slay your enemies and make them beg for your mercy. Word, do that.
Good pride motto.
So we already hit that one. So this would be the next one.
$5 from Laser Lizard. Nobody told me trans women can have periods. The first time it happened, I went to the ER because I thought I was dying.
Well, you fucking might be dying. Holy shit.
Oh my gosh. Why do you want to see the moms chat or fight each other? Isn't it always weird when your parents are fighting? Is this what you want, chat? You want me and Arden to just be wringing each other's neck?
$5 from Alyssa Nguyen. I'll feel better about LGBT pride after transphobes see an appropriate amount of LGBT wrath. LGBT greed also need to stop commercializing LGBT pride. Yeah, it's one of those things. I totally agree with the principle of the like what do you call it? The corporatizing of pride where they slap a rainbow logo, but also with the size of pride events that we've come to expect, there's no way you're going to get those without like corporate sponsors. And so I don't really know what you can't have both.
I'm sad that I want the corporatization of Target so we can get Pride merch, but we can't anymore because Target's a bunch of babies and are afraid of meanies. It doesn't make sense. I don't like it. It makes me sad to see less Pride merch, but I don't know if that counts as commercializing.
Yeah.
I feel like I want my Pride merch.
I also think it's a good thing because it shows that, you know, businesses see that the majority of people are pro-LGBT, and so it's beneficial to them financially to like be pro-LGBT on their face, you know. I don't know. Capitalism is weird, and multinational corporations are weird. Yeah, it's
I literally saw like the senator running in Maryland, Hogan, was marching in the Pride Parade, and I'm just like, you literally voted against like as governor and vetoed like trans legislation, and he has the gall to walk in a Pride Parade trying to rainbow wash himself. It was like, it made me so sick inside. I was like, yeah. I actually, when I was walking by that float, I was like, boo, you suck, boo.
I think somebody should call maybe next week and talk about like pink washing, rainbow washing. I think that could make for an interesting call. We did talk about it last year, but I'm always down to do it again because it's like a very relevant thing. Okay, I think let me add this one. I think now I am caught up, so I can go back to being in order. Yeah, that was like 4 in a row that I missed somehow. Probably was in the middle of them we were arguing, they came in, so I was like too in the zone to even like look over and catch them. Is this you or me? I don't remember. I think it's you.
It's me. Yeah. 10 pounds from William Johnston, Johnston, guitarist. On the maybe chat, I think this is semantic. Josie uses the word maybe in the soft sense, maybe similar to perhaps, and I think Arden is interpreting it as literally a claim of needing evidence. Well, William, I love how you are making us both right. That's really sweet.
Yeah, it's a good attempt. No, I think they're like I'm fine with the notion that the problem with saying that, in my view, is that literally anything may be in that sense. Like maybe a unicorn comes and stabs you in the abdomen at night, and that's why you have PMS, right? Like you can do.
Not how I'm using it.
No. I'm not saying that is. I'm saying that's the problem with that use of maybe, and that's why I was holding to the stricter claim. If we're going to make a claim, I think it needs to be using the stronger whether or not it may be.
You just don't accept my evidence. That's the issue, Arden.
I don't accept anecdotal evidence as sufficient, correct?
No, it's not anecdotal is what I'm saying. I'm saying that hormone
Okay, then where's the empirical evidence?
PMS symptoms. That hormone cycles produce PMS symptoms in cis people.
But that's a totally different... It's
human bodies, see?
No, it's
that
not the same. You're
evidence.
totally shifting the entire claim. Like, the goalposts have moved. Yes, no, that is different to what you were claiming earlier. It is not the same. If you're just saying cis people experience hormonal differences, that's so uncontroversial. I don't disagree with that at all.
Causes PMS, and therefore trans people, when given those same conditions,
PMS
have the same possibility because it's just cis people and trans people have the same hormone profile. So why in the world would it not be the reality that person could have experienced those same symptoms if they have the same hormone watches?
This is a totally different...
This is what I was explaining the first time.
No, this is a completely different... No, this is a completely different claim to what we were talking about before.
You never let me explain it. That's what it is. You got
no, I'm going to call hard bullshit on that. I absolutely let you make your entire claim and then pointed out why it was logically not working. Just because you've shifted the claim now to a softer claim. That's actually, isn't that literally called a Mott and Bailey, where you shift the claim to an easier one to, I'm pretty sure that is literally a logical, not logical fallacy, but
now that you've calmed down and
it's not about me calming down. See, now that is literally an ad hominem. Now you understand me because you're not angry. That is not what that case is at all.
I'll take that L. But I will also take the W that the maybe was right. So there you go.
It was not right. But 20 pounds from Jackie Greenland. I'm late. Long day. Brain fried. Have money. Thank you, Jackie. We always love to see you here.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Imagine if people knew what the regret rate for basic household purchases is. More than 3% of people regret buying PlayStations. Happy Pride, y'all. It's a good point. We should stop selling PlayStations because people regret buying them.
I regret like 85% of the things that I buy, so that would be... Honestly, though, I probably should not be allowed to buy things. Also, I'm going to do this one time to this one person in chat. To Lady Domina, it's the same, quit gatekeeping. I'm not gatekeeping. I'm evaluating a logical claim. I'm not telling you you can't have pain. I'm not telling you can't have hormones. That's not fucking gatekeeping. And I've been seeing you talk shit all fucking day in chat. So suck on a big fat fart, Lady Domina.
Okay, Lady Domina. I see you.
$5 from William Mattis. Sorry, Lady Domina. I've been seeing you talk shit, so I fucking gatekeeping. What the fuck? That's not even related to what's going on. $5 from William Mattis. Quick activate plan Hector Rico Tango. We need that to what? We need to that gender fluid out the world and trans everyone. I feel like there's a word missing here somewhere.
HRT. Activate plan HRT.
Smart.
We need to that gender fluid out of the... Okay. I get what that's saying. Yeah. $5 from Wade Hathaway Music. Just wanted to shout, Happy Pride Month. I so love this show, and it's my online family. Yes.
Me too.
We're all happy family, even though that I was right the whole time, and Arden's having
so not fucking true. Nowhere near the case.
Here,
that's
Arden's
amazing.
That L.
Just totally delusional. No, this is fun. I mean, honestly, I've actually had kind of a shit day, and being able to laugh about this has been kind of fun. So
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
normally I get a lot of anxiety about Takis, just because it's like serious. Like these are important issues, so it's nice to have fun on Takis.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're sitting here with me. There's like
It is
come on,
always fun
I'm
with
not
you,
gonna
Josie.
I'm not gonna let you get all sad. I'm gonna go. Let's go. We're gonna be happy and have a good time.
$5 from Haley Geringer. Love the show, but hard to call in during work hours. Any later shows coming up, would love to talk about some things. Happy Pride. So, we have been in talks about adding a second Takis that would be at a later time, potentially on a Friday or a Saturday. But unfortunately, right now, Jimmy's got a lot of stuff going on, and I am taking a lot of extra stuff on my plate while that's going on. And so there's not really a lot of room to make plans for that kind of thing right now, but there is talks about having a second Takis. We just actually onboarded Lux as a full host. Got that process finished. Lux is actually going to be on a lot next month. This coming month. It's June already. Wow, time.
Yeah. Is it just going to be me and Lux a lot?
You and Lux
Or
are
am I
on at least once this month. I think it's Ben and Lux, myself and Lux, then you and Lux for ours is the next few shows. But we're also probably going to onboard at least one other person, maybe multiple, if we get that second show, because I already am not a huge fan of hosting. This was really fun today, but I'm usually not a fan of hosting, so I want to have more space. And also, the other person we're considering onboarding is another trans woman, and I would really like to have another trans man or trans mask. I know Lux is like trans mask non-binary. I think that's what it calls itself, but I'm not totally sure. I would definitely want more trans masculine representation on the show, and holy crap, we need more people of color on any show on the line. I want to be careful about our selection process if we end up adding another show. So we'll see.
Just keep on putting on Josie, and you'll handle a lot of that problem.
Right? There you go.
I am very colorful. And
Thank you for being our token, Josie.
Yeah, happy always. Do it for the Democratic Party. I'll do it for you too.
Oh wait! I just did. Everyone tells me this is millennial now. I have to do the. Is this what the kids do?
I'm gonna do this. I'm a millennial. I don't care. You're gonna get this.
I'm a cusp. I know that sounds very astrology, but it's just true. Like the cusp between millennial and Gen Z is December of 1995, and my birthday was November 29th, 1995. So I am like literally as cusp as it gets.
I'm an old lady. I'm an old lady. I'm 38. So, like, 1986. I know. I'm so old.
You look so fucking young, though, for your age. For real, though.
Thank you. It's the estrogen.
Gorgeous. Did we read this one? I don't even remember.
Yeah, no. Did we read the last one?
Yeah. They were talking about during work hours if there's the later show. That's what started that whole conversation.
Oh, okay. $10 Canadian from Kathleen Moncrief. I'm here to start a fight about what is the best pasta shape. Team Rotini. You know, I'm a classic spaghetti girl. I love just the classic spaghetti noodle. What about you, Arden?
I like a good spaghetti. I also love like a fettuccine or a rotini, because I love making this dish where it's like flavor bomb cherry tomatoes. Get them all swelling and crush them up in some rotini, and they like have all that sauce inside. Oh, so
the
good.
Little grippers. Yeah, I do like
yeah.
rotini too. Yeah.
Let's see. There we go.
$10 from Tenacious P. Did I just read it twice, or is this you? No, this is you. Go for it.
Oh, sorry. $10 from Tenacious P. First time watching live. Thanks so much for taking my call, Tony. Nice. Hey, Tony. I love having this space to gain perspective in education. Happy Pride Month.
Yay.
Well, I'm glad you called in. It was an interesting conversation. I definitely love talking about like gender abolition and all that stuff. And it's a really common point that people think that like trans people are somehow reinforcing traditional gender roles. So definitely happy to have the conversation.
Always a good topic. Yeah. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Arden, I bake for the same reason. been plagued by insomnia and nightmares since adolescence. Never did any drug till 20. It's just wonderful too. Sleepy emoji.
Yeah. Dude, my nightmares are crazy. They're usually like some sort of impending doom that I can't escape, like nuclear apocalypse, like watching the bomb come down, or like an asteroid coming down, or like there's like some alien species that's abducting everyone on the planet and like just running and hiding knowing that they're inevitably going to get you. Like those are my nightmares, and they happen like quite frequently when I'm
had
not
a
high,
dream.
So
I had a dream last night where I was like an assassin going around like trying to take out people. Like my dreams are very theatrical and very action oriented. Like I wish I could put them on a screen. I know, I have a lot of fun dreams.
I also have stress dreams where usually initially it's really cool and really fun, like where I can fly. Like I'm a dragon, I've got wings.
Yeah.
I'm over a lake, I'm beating my wings, and I'm like, this is amazing. But then all of a sudden,
the hero comes.
Then usually, it stops working, and I'm trying, I'm beating my wings as hard as I can, but I can't fly, and I'm crashing down, and then I smash into the ground. Like those are the kind of dreams that I have. They are.
Yeah, you're the antagonist
stressful.
in your own dreams. That's terrible.
I regularly have dreams where initially they start off really positive and really cool, and then they just turn into failure and anxiety. It's terrible.
$5 from William Mattis. I fed up my last super chat. Oh, I effed up my last super chat. I'm dumb today. Shout out to what is that? Faya?
A commenter.
Oh, Faya. Okay, for her eventual timestamps. Thanks to you two for your friendly discourse.
Yeah, thanks, William. Yeah, Faya, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. They do at literally every show on the line, like within 5 minutes of it being over, they have timestamps for the caller's name and what they talked about.
Wow.
Every single show. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that, but
thank you.
Like, I probably should be the one doing that, but I don't keep track of that because I'm usually way too like in the moment. Yeah.
We love you for it. Thank you.
$5 from Alyssa Nguyen. What about a trans-Pacific show with hosts from the Pacific Rim? Delta time would also be annoying, though. Also, I'm on the cusp. The other side, though, with 1981. Oh, nice. Like, is that like millennial Gen X or something?
Yeah. I claim you, Alyssa, as a millennial. Even if you don't like it, you're getting it.
I feel more like a millennial than I feel like a Gen Z because I just don't relate to Gen Z on so many things.
Well, you know, it also lets you like on who you date is usually where you relate more to. Mm-hmm. So Matt's older, so therefore it makes sense you would relate to an older generation.
I have always dated with the exception of like my high school girlfriend who was like a year younger than me. I have always dated older. Every single partner I've had has been like minimum 5 years older than me. So
it's the opposite for me because I don't like dating into the Gen X. I like dating into the millennials. So yeah.
All right. Looks like this is currently the last super chat. You.
$5 from Monkey at Typewriter. The issue with my dreams is they're about being attacked. I've straight up attacked people in my sleep for early waking moments, a toke for safety. Oh,
aww.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's definitely stressful. I totally endorse. I mean, like, if you don't break the law. Get what works for you. Fucking Delta 8 shit.
We got one more.
Delta 8 is legal in every state. Yeah, I'm pulling it up. Delta 8 shit is legal in almost every state right now, I think. So you don't actually need to break the law to get high no matter what state you're in. And it's, in my opinion, just as good.
Headache. Gives me a headache. Yeah, but I don't know
I've heard
that's
that from
a true
other
claim.
people.
So I don't know if that's a true claim, so maybe it doesn't.
I don't know, but I have heard that from other people as well, but I don't know.
I guess I'm just a liar.
Well, it could also be, I think there's evidence that vaping in general causes like oxygen deprivation to the brain.
That's fair.
Could cause could cause the headache that way. But $5 from Skip Toitius. Can we get a quick shout out to the prettiest host on the line? I suppose Arden's not that bad looking herself. JK Arden. Josie's pretty cute. I get it. Oh
You're cute too.
They keep coming in, you guys. It's crazy.
Good.
I like it though. Yeah, we haven't had this kind of show in a while.
I know. It's a good, happy show. I love it. $5 from Alyssa Ljub, my fellow reactor operator. Mm-hmm. So between me, Zennial, and Arden Zennial, we're translineal.
I like how Zennial and Zennial seem like they be pronounced the same, despite the X and the Z.
I know.
That's fun.
I know.
Then we've got £5 from William Johnston, guitarist again. There's a joke in my house that when you dream and try really hard to fly, you're making a constipated sound in your dream. Okay, TMI, I don't really snore, but I do make like sounds in my sleep. Like I'm almost talking, but not really making a word that anyone knows. Like I just make like kind of mouth sounds in my sleep, I've been told. And I grind my teeth like crazy.
Oh,
so clearly,
yeah.
Something's going on when I'm sleeping, but yeah.
Something. When I'm incredibly exhausted, especially if I'm working a campaign cycle, so like I'm on a campaign, I talk in my sleep like mad. Mm-hmm. Apparently, you could actually like record me and I will be like having full conversations because I'm like knocking so many doors and having so many conversations that I'm literally dreaming of having conversations out loud in my sleep.
Oh my gosh. I've definitely talked in my sleep before, but yeah, people usually say it's more just like mumbling. They can't understand.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the last super chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate all of you. Even the chatter who I shit on earlier. I haven't seen them in the chat since then, so I think I scared them off. But
don't scare them off.
Listen, you gotta make accusations. I'm gonna bring it back to you. I don't care who you are. I'm an equal opportunity attacker here. No, just kidding. Love you guys so much. Oh, William Mattis, $5. I talk in my sleep and have cussed out people. Damn. Cussing them out. Nice. Thank you to the mods for being here. Thank you to the callers. It was a really good show. And thank you to all the chat, even if you're all wrong. Thank you to Josie, even if you're wrong. You want to give a little...
eating that L. Eating that L.
There's no L to eat, baby.
That's what you think. It's okay, though. I forgive you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back next week with Lux and Ben for a show. It'll be Lux's first show as a full host, so I'm really excited to have them on. See you guys all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Oh.
And be one of these cool people.
Yeah.
You gotta be one of these cool people.
All right, the audio's a little loud. Let's bring it down here because I want to tell you guys to go to patreon.com/calltheline and I want you to hear me say it. Patreon.com/calltheline is the best way to support the line. There's many tiers. You can get your name up on the side. You can get access to private video chats or Q&As like once a month and our podcast. So lots of good stuff. Check it out. We'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Bye.